topic for the presentation is urbanization and addressing inequality. It is a part of Sustainable Development Goal 10. My presentation is divided into three parts. The first part deals with causes of urban development and urban development since independence, that is during the planning period. The second part deals with relevance of Sustainable Development Goal 10 on the Indian economy. The third part is on measures for sustainable urbanization. So as far as the urbanization in India is concerned, India is one of the fastest growing economies in the world, aspiring to become $5 trillion economy by 2026 and $40 trillion economy by 2047. And you are aware, the urbanization refers to shifting the population from rural areas to urban areas. This process is underway in India. The number of inhabitants in Indian cities is estimated to have increased almost fourfold between 1970 and 2018 from 109 million to 460 million. Already the second largest urban community in the world, the country is expected to add another 416 million people to its cities by 2050. So it is expected by 2050, another 416 million people will be added in the cities, and it will have a share of urban share of 50%. So we expect by 2050, the proportion of urban population in the total population of the country would be 50%. 56% of the world population live in cities. The most urbanized region include Northern America. In Northern America, 82% of people living in urban areas. Latin America and Caribbean, in this region, the 81% of population living in urban areas. Europe 74% and Oceania 64%. The level of urbanization in Asia is now approximately 50%. So in the Asian continent, the proportion of urban population in the total population of the continent is registered at 50%. Africa remains mostly the rural with 43% of its population living in rural area. So in the African continent, still 57% of the population live in rural areas only. As far as the World Urbanization Prospects Report of the United Nations Development of Economic and Social Affairs, the India, China, and Nigeria will account for 35% of projected growth of urban population between 2018 and 2050. So between 2010 and 2050, the combined population of India, China, and Nigeria. So the India, China, and Nigeria account for 35% of projected growth of world's urban population during this period. As per 2011 census, the India's population stood at 1,210 million with an urbanization level of 31.2%. Goa is the most urbanized state with 62.2% of urban population. Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Maharashtra, Gujarat have attained 40% of urbanization. Among the northeastern states, Mizoram is the most urbanized state with 51.5% of urban population. Over 75% of urban population in the country lives in 10 states. So 75% of the urban population of the country can be seen in 10 states such as Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, West Bengal, Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, and Kerala. 13.5% of total urban population of the country. That is 50.8 million persons lives in Maharashtra. The next one, as far as the causes and different types of urban settlements are concerned, economic opportunity is one of the reasons for which people are migrating from rural area to urban area. Urban areas offer better job opportunities in industries, services, and technology sectors. So in search of employment opportunities and for having better wages, people are migrating from rural area to urban area. And in urban area, improved transportation network and housing facilities attracted the rural population. So the infrastructure development is also one of, in urban area, is also one of the reasons for which migration of people from rural area to urban area. And urban areas provide better health access to quality education and healthcare service. So better education and health services are available in urban area. So in search of education and health facilities, people are migrating from rural area to urban area. And at the same time, natural population increase in cities. Natural population increase in cities also contributed for growing urbanization. And as far as the different types of urban settlements in India is concerned, we will find census towns, population of at least 5,000, population of at least 5,000, a population density of at least 400 per square kilometer, where at least 75% of the male working population is engaged in non-agricultural occupations. So just once again, I am repeating, as far as the census towns are concerned, population of at least 5,000, a population density of 400 per square kilometer, where at least 75% of male working population is engaged in non-agricultural occupations. The next one, statutory towns. These are designated by the relevant state governments. So these towns officially designated as such by the relevant state governments. These towns typically have a corporation or municipality in charge of the local government. So we are finding municipalities and corporations in charge of the local government. So such towns are statutory towns. Satellite towns, a town that is located in close proximity to a larger urban center. Close proximity to a large urban center. Such towns are called satellite towns. Urban agglomeration, a continuous urban area of the city, a continuous urban area of the city or town, and also the suburban fringe or rural areas. Suburban rural areas lying within the administrative boundaries of nearby town or city. So it will be, the area will be administered by nearby town or city. Such areas are called urban agglomerations. Outgrowth, a small settlement adjacent to a large town. A small settlement adjacent. It is very nearer to the larger towns. That is outgrowth. Over urbanization refers to urbanization where the urban areas are excessively developed and the natural resources are overutilized. That is over urbanization. Suburbanization refers to the process of urbanization where the urban areas are growing outwards and the rural areas are becoming urbanized. Rural areas are becoming urbanized. Counter urbanization. Counter urbanization refers to movement of people and businesses from urban areas to rural areas. So here you are observing movement of people from urban areas to rural areas in such of businesses like that. That is counter urbanization. The next one, the urban development during the planning process or since independence. Since the first 5-year plan, you are all aware, the planning process began in India in 1950 with the setting up of the Planning Commission. The first 5-year plan began in India on April 1st, 1951. So, since the first 5-year plan, the government focused more on the issues of underdevelopment, because you are all aware, at the time of independence, India remained backward in terms of agriculture, industry, and service also. So, since the first 5-year plan, the government of India focused more on issues of underdevelopment, including poverty alleviation. In the first 3 5-year plans, the government focused more on housing upgradation and a slum clearance program. So the first 3 5-year plans focused on housing upgradation and slum clearance programs. During the 4th to 7th 5-year plan, the focus was on urban community development and environmental improvement of slums. So during this plan period, government focused more on urban community development and environmental improvement of slums. In the 8th 5-year plan, the focus was on removal of urban poverty. The inclusive growth strategy is being followed at present to address the various problems of urban poverty and slums. So the government of India, during the planning process, has come up with various programs. And after 2017 also, because the 12th 5-year plan ended on March 31st, 2017, after 2017 also, the government has come up with various programs for the urban development in the country. So the important policies and programs of urban development implemented in India includes Urban Community Development Program 1958, the 74th Constitutional Amendment 1992, Swarna Jayanti Shahari Rozgar Yojana 1997, National Policy for Urban Street Vendors 2004, Jawaharlal Nehru National Urban Renewal Mission 2005, Urban Infrastructure Development Scheme for Small and Medium Towns 2005, Integrated Housing and Slum Development Program 2005, National Urban Transport Policy 2006, Capacity Building for Urban Development Projects 2006, National Urban Sanitation Policy 2008, the Swachh Bharat Mission for Urban, Amrut, PM Awas Yojana for urban areas, PM Garib Kalyan Yojana, that is for slum dwellers or urban poor, Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. These are the various programs have been implemented by the government for urban development. The successful examples of, just here I'm focusing on the sustainable and planned urbanization in 2 of our cities in India. That is Chandigarh, number 2, Indore. The successful example of sustainable and planned urbanization in India, number 1, Chandigarh. Chandigarh is known for its well-planned urban design. Well-planned urban design which has helped to reduce congestion and improve quality of life for residents. So, as because of well-planned urban design, Chandigarh has succeeded in improving quality of life of the residents. Number 2, Indore. Indore is known for waste management initiative. Indore has implemented a number of programs to improve the collection and disposal of waste. So Indore is known for waste management initiative, and it has come up with various programs to improve the collection and disposal of waste. So these are the 2 successful examples for sustainable and planned urbanization in India. Urbanization, now just I would like to focus on relation between urbanization economic growth and infrastructure. You are all aware, infrastructure is crucial for the economic development of the country. Urbanization can lead to economic growth and improved infrastructure. But on the other hand, on one hand, we have seen some positive, the positive impact of urbanization. But on the other hand, urbanization can also result in overcrowding. Now you have been observing slums in various metropolitan cities. Slum areas are growing in various metropolitan cities. So, on the other hand, urbanization can also result in overcrowding, pollution, and a resource strain. As the economy grows gradually, for example, you have been observing the Indian economy has been growing gradually, though the developed economies are achieving slow growth, very low growth in the recent years. Indian economy was managed to register annual growth of 7% per annum. So we are able to achieve 7% of growth on an average, whereas the growth rate in developed economies is at very low. So the economy is growing gradually. When the economy is growing gradually, the process of urbanization depends on the shift of surplus population from rural areas to urban area. So whenever the economy grows gradually like this, you will find the more movement of people from rural areas to urban area, along with the growth of some industrial urban centers. But modern cities have grown in an unplanned way. That is why just you are observing. See, during a heavy rain season, heavy rains, floods are occurring. Some cities are experiencing floods. And at the same time, not only that, in some cities are experiencing drainage problems. So the modern cities have grown in an unplanned way, due to rapid industrialization. With more than 80% of the global GDP generated in cities. Just if you take the global GDP, 80% of the global GDP comes from cities only. So as 80% of the GDP comes from cities, urbanization can contribute to sustainable growth through increased productivity and innovation if managed very well. So the urban areas can contribute for sustainable growth. At the same time, according to World Economic Forum, almost 14% of the global GDP is invested in infrastructure. So the investment on infrastructure is also growing. According to World Economic Forum, 14% of global GDP is invested in infrastructure, such as transport infrastructure. Number 2, electricity, power supply and distribution. Number 3, water supply and sewage. Number 4, communication infrastructure. But the amount of investment needed to meet the world infrastructure. So there is a need to enhance investments on infrastructure. So by 2040, the entire world economy is required $15 trillion of investment on infrastructure. Because on the other hand, the urbanization is growing, and at the same time, there is a need to invest more on infrastructure, and people are migrating from rural areas to urban area. So in order to create more facilities for the growing urban people, there is a need to invest more on infrastructure. So here, I have highlighted the importance of urban planning and good governance. Urban planning and good governance within effective regulatory frameworks are required. Just once again, I am repeating, urban planning and good governance within the effective regulatory framework. Within the effective regulatory framework is required for rapid urbanization. Because of the demographic weight, China and India will welcome the largest number of urban dwellers in the future. So these two countries will welcome the largest number of urban dwellers in the future. Between 2018 and 2050, urban population in India is expected to increase by over 400 million. So we are expecting by 2050, and another 400 million people will live in the urban areas of the country. And that of China, it is expected to increase by over 250 million. So as far as India is concerned, between 2018 and 2050, it is the urban population is expected to increase by over 400 million, whereas in China, it was 250 million. The second part of my lecture, that is the most important thing, the relevance of Sustainable Development Goal 10 on the Indian economy. Because here, I would like to focus more on inequalities prevailed in India in various aspects. So as far as the relevance of SDG 10 is concerned, we have been observing disparities in terms of income and wealth among various sections of the people. The 1% of India's population, 1% of India's population, their share in the national income is 21.7%. So 1% of India's population holds 21.7% of income of the country. So their share in the total wealth of the country is 33%. 33. It clearly reflects that there are inequalities in terms of income and wealth among different sections of the people. The lower 50% of population, the lower 50%, they are accounted for 13.1% in the national income of the country. So their share in the national income is only 13%. At the same time, their share in the total wealth of the country is 5.9%. So from these 2 points, you might have observed inequalities in terms of income and wealth among various individuals in the economy. The top 1% holds 21% of the national income. Their share in the total wealth is 33%, but the lowest 50% holds their share in the national income is 13%, but on the other hand, their share in the total wealth is 5.9%. If you observe, the number of billionaires have been increased from 9. We had only 9 billionaires in the year 2000. Their number increased to 101 by 2017, and at present, their number reached to 119. So the number of billionaires have been increased from 9 in 2000 to 119 at present. And it is also expected that every day 70 new millionaires, 70 new millionaires will be the emergence of 70 new millionaires daily between 2018 and 19. So if the same trend continues, every day 70 new millionaires will be added between the period 2018 and 2020. It is expected like that. And at the same time, the very important aspect. See, here we have to consider to study the inequalities between different sections of the people. We should have some idea about the monthly per capita consumption expenditure, very important indicator to study inequalities between the people. As far as the trends in consumption is concerned, because you are all aware, your consumption depends upon your income. So, as because of variations in income, consumption expenditure also varies. Not only between the rural area and urban area, within the rural and urban areas also, you will find inequalities in terms of the consumption expenditure. Rural monthly consumption expenditure increased from 1,430 rupees in 2011-12 to 4,122 rupees in 2023-24. So per capita rural monthly consumption expenditure increased from 1,430 rupees in 2011-12 to 4,122 rupees by 2023-24. Urban monthly per capita consumption expenditure as a single person consumption expenditure per month in 2011-12 is 2,630 rupees, and it increased to 6,996 rupees in 2023-24. So you have observed inequalities in terms of consumption expenditure between rural people and urban people. The difference between urban and rural monthly per capita consumption expenditure expressed as a percentage of rural monthly per capita consumption expenditure. Again, I'm repeating, the difference between urban and rural monthly per capita consumption expenditure expressed as a percentage of rural monthly per capita consumption expenditure decreased over a period of time. It has been decreased from 83% in 2011-12 to 71% by 2022-23, and then to 69.7% by 2023-24. The next one, just we have entered into the third part, issues and challenges. If you observe the entire world economy, more than 700 million people who live in urban environments live without improved sanitation. So they are lacking sanitation facilities. Nearly 700 million people live in urban areas across the world are lacking improved sanitation, which in turn contributes to poor health. In Eastern and Southeastern Asia, more than 370 million people are living in slums. They are living in slums. As far as Eastern and Southeastern Asia is concerned, 370 million people live in slums, while in Sub-Saharan Africa, 238 million people live in slums. Central and Southern Asia, 227 million people live in slum area. An estimated 3 billion people will be in need of adequate and affordable housing by 2030. So by 2030, across the world, 3 billion people are in need of affordable housing. So they need a housing facility by 2030. So in the entire world, we had 570 coastal cities, 570 coastal cities with a total population of 800 million. So 570 coastal cities with a total population of 800 million are considered vulnerable to a climate change. It induces a sea level rise of just 0.5 meters by 2050. So sea level rise of 0.5 meters by 2050, making cities more resilient to extreme weather events. At the same time, the global health systems were weakened by COVID-19 pandemic. We are all aware global health systems have become weakened due to this COVID-19 pandemic. So here, in this case, we need planned urbanization. The planned urbanization is required to avoid such kind of social problems, particularly among the marginalized sections of the people. And now, continuation to this issues and urbanization is concerned. The next one, the pathways for sustainable urbanization. It is we have to suggest some measures for achieving sustainable urbanization. Here, there is a need for integrated urban planning. So, comprehensive urban planning is required. Why comprehensive urban planning is required? Because there is a need to achieve balanced economic growth, social inclusion, and environmental sustainability. So, integrated urban planning is required to achieve balanced economic growth, social inclusion, and environmental sustainability. Public-private partnerships. For example, if you take India, in case of economic infrastructure, we are finding more projects under PPP. But as far as social infrastructure is concerned, we have failed in attracting more PPP projects. So, public-private partnership lead to collaborations to enhance urban infrastructure and service delivery. Affordable housing solutions. Affordable housing solutions promotes low-cost housing under rental housing schemes. Low-cost housing under rental housing schemes. Sustainable transportation. Sustainable transportation leads to development of mass transit systems and promotion of non-motorized transport operations. Green urban development. Green urban development. So the green urban development leads to implementation of renewable energy solutions, green buildings, and urban forestry. Now the government of India understand that urban development is a key to achieve the vision of, because we have a vision of faster, more inclusive, and sustainable growth. So the economic growth achieved by Indian economy should be faster. We have to accelerate our economic growth. And we have to achieve inclusive growth, faster, more inclusive, and sustainable growth. This is our main objective. So to achieve this objective, the government of India needs to integrate infrastructure and housing planning at all government levels. So to achieve this objective, the government has to integrate infrastructure and housing planning at all government levels. Number two, the government is required to create a stable policy framework for private investment. There is a need to attract more private investment also. So for that, a stable policy is to be designed by Government of India to attract more private investment. Number three, we have to create institutions to stimulate investment in business growth and highly skilled talent. So these are the steps which would help the Government of India to address inequalities, thereby the India will be in a position to achieve so India would achieve the objective of achieving the inclusive growth, not only inclusive growth, and accelerating the economic growth of the country. So here I am concluding my presentation by highlighting, by adopting sustainable urban strategies, there is a need to adapt sustainable urban strategies, urbanization strategies. India has to ensure the Indian cities become inclusive. Indian cities become inclusive, resilient, and vibrant centers of progress. Just at the end, while concluding, I'm repeating, by adopting sustainable urbanization strategies, India ensures that its cities become inclusive, resilient, and vibrant centers of progress. This requires coordinated effort from government, private sector, and communities. There should be a coordination effort between these agencies, that is government, private sector, and communities. Then only we can harness the potential of urbanization for the benefit of all. So everybody will get benefited from the urbanization when there is a coordination between the government, private sector, and communities.